Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Just got finished doing a little bit of chest. And again, like last week, it kind of sucked because I have aggravated this shoulder. This is the good shoulder, by the way. Ugh. Aggravated, not this one's still okay. Aggravated this shoulder, boom, because I was like a hardhead, like a dumbass. I should have known better. It's not like I just started doing this shit yesterday. I was feeling good, feeling my oats, and I started doing a lot of heavy shoulder press and shit with free weights. You know, going heavy. And the good shoulder doesn't like it. If it looks red, I don't know if it does or not, but if it looks red, it's because I just put my horse liniment on there. If you're not down with that, man, you're missing something. It's a game changer. I wouldn't have been able to even lift as I just lifted. I hadn't had that horse liniment on there. And the other thing is that if I hadn't had the horse liniment, on there, then whatever I did do, I would have paid for tomorrow. It would have aggravated it, and it would have been, worse tomorrow. But what the liniment does, it's got MSM in it and all this. It's for horses, for God's sake, for the joints. You put it on, you rub it in, it gets into the muscle, it gets into the joint, and it warms it up, and it gets it really warm, really hot. So you don't want to be rubbing it on there unless you're, probably going to work out. You kind of don't want to just sit around, I don't think. You might want to. It might be a little extreme for that. But anyway, it prevents inflammation. It heats it up, keeps it nice and, warm, so that whatever's frayed and raggedy in there, whatever edges or whatever you got going on, you feel a little bit of pain, you work through it a little bit anyway, you try to be cautious, and those raggedy edges rub. And as they rub, they become more inflamed. Now they're going to rub more because they're more inflamed. And then the next day, you're going to feel the additional damage from that. You've aggravated it, to an even greater degree, et cetera, et cetera. You can figure how it goes. So that's what the liniment, horse liniment, does. It's awesome. There's nothing, I don't give a fuck what you're using. There's nothing that you can get over the counter for human beings that is the equivalent of this shit. You can get it from Tractor Supply and these kind of places, right? God forbid, YouTube, I'm not recommending anybody use equine joint liniment on their fucking human joints. I'm not recommending that. I'm just saying that's what I do. And a shitload of old school powerlifters that I came up with, that's what they do. And if you're old school DSM, what the fuck is that shit called? Remember that shit? Yeah, it's been so long, you want to stink like garlic and all, you can use that, but this is so much better than that. I haven't used that in decades. DSMO, whatever, right? Anyway, what I want to talk about, and what put this in my mind, two things. Number one, people are always asking me, what are you weighing? How much are you weighing? Even if I post something, people ask, what are you weighing now? What are you weighing? And I've decided, I'm still on the same plan that I started, way back in, I don't know, October, September, where I've been doing things in cycles, where I pull the carbs back, turn the carbs down, up the fiber, up the fats a little bit. Protein goes up, and then I'm doing all kinds of cardio, and I'm trying to get leaner. And then when I get down, to a certain point, then I will go ahead and bulk, and I'll switch gears. And when I bulk, I'll do it kind of clean. All I'm going to do is turn the fiber down, turn the carbs up, bring the fat back down a little bit, and the protein can come down because my protein requirements to get big are not as great as they are to get lean. More protein when I'm trying to get lean is a benefit for me. It makes it easier. It helps. So I'm doing these things in cycles like this, right? I've been doing it, and it's working great. But I ended up getting really heavy, and I got on a scale at one point. This has been months now, and I was like, oh shit. You know, because when I had started leaning, at one point, it was working so well as far as a recompositional type of point. And again, it's going to, you know, things are going to work differently for me than for maybe the average person, because I've already been over 300 pounds. You know, I've already been enormous, as big as anybody in bodybuilding at one point. So I'm never going to be that big again, but I'm just regaining. I'm not breaking new ground here. I'm just regaining. Of course, yes, I am 60 now, but you know, it makes it more difficult, and it does change the game a little bit, and I have to supplement a lot more. But most of the supplements are just to stay healthy, just to stay viable, to stay, you know, to maintain functionality and longevity. You know, stuff I didn't need when I was younger, but I do use now, supplement-wise. So, like I said, at one point I got on a scale and I was cutting down. I was in that portion of the cycle, and I had absolutely lost some body fat, but I got on a scale and I had gained 5 pounds. So that was lean tissue gain, regain, okay, regain. And I was like, shit, what am I doing here? I want to watch out for this overall weight, because it's not the healthiest thing to be 60 years old. There's not a lot of guys at 60 years old walking around, you know, fairly lean mass monsterish type of shit, because they're all dead if they try to do that. Usually, if they just stay big and they keep going like I have, they're usually dead before now, you know, because they did it a different way. You understand? I took the long, slow road. I always knew it was a marathon. I never looked at it like it was a sprint. I've never been an instant gratification guy. Never. In fact, I'm old school. For me, I experience an enhanced gratification if it's something that I have to build up to, I have to work up for, I have to acquire, right? I have to go after and kind of earn. If I just can get it very easily, I don't fucking want it, because then anybody can do it. And I don't want to be like everybody and anybody. I want to be like me. Anyway, so everybody always asks, what do you weigh? So my philosophy nowadays is, I don't really want to know what I weigh, because if I'm getting on the scale and I'm keeping track of it, which I was doing, and it doesn't do any good. I'm just going by pictures in the mirror, what it feels like, you know, what I look like. I'm going by that. How my clothes are fitting, what sizes I'm wearing. Because if I just keep looking at the scale, then it gets into my head. And it's not in the way that you would think. It's not like from a bigorexia type of thing, God forbid. It's not like that. I'm beyond that shit. It's like, I mean, I've been there, but I'm beyond that. For God's sake, you're looking at a guy that you've seen pictures of me. They're out there, where I was 307 fucking pounds. You know, been in the 280s with good abs, you know, with pretty decent abs, with pretty good abs. So I've been enormous. So for, you know, I haven't been that big in a long time. So I've had plenty of time to get past that shit. And there's no, you know, I'm not fooling myself. I'll never be that big again. And I'm not supposed to ever be that big again. And it's totally fine. It's cool. Look, I'm still bigger than most motherfuckers. So it doesn't matter. How big do you got to get? Anyway, so with the scale, for me, if I get on the scale and I see that I'm too heavy, right? It gets into my head, and then I start thinking, man, I weigh too much. What's going on? But it doesn't matter. I monitor my blood pressure. I monitor my blood sugar, you know. I keep track of all these things, my pulse rate. I do all this shit, right? And I take a lot of supplements preemptively, or just for maintenance-wise, to stay viable and to stay, you know, healthy. And it's worked. It works. So if I feel good, you know, I jump out of bed, I'm well rested, I feel great. You know, shit, I woke up this morning at 5:30 and I couldn't get back to sleep. I was wide awake. It was time to get the fuck up. You know, and I don't go to bed that early. You know, I go to bed, but I watch some TV, whatever. So everything's good. But then if you put in there, you add in there, well, what do I actually weigh? Why do you give a fuck what you actually weigh? Unless you're competing in some fucking, you know, event where they're going to have weight classes and you have to make a certain weight. If you're just living your fucking life, why do you care? Why do you care? right? I mean, I know I'm not going to be 290, right? I hope I'm not going to be 280 again, ever. But if I get on a scale and I say, you know, if everything's going good and I'm happy with the way things are progressing, and I get on a scale and the scale's bang, and I go, oh my God, that's too fucking heavy, man. You know, then it gets in my head. It gets in my head. So it's backwards. Whereas in my younger days, I wanted to get on a scale and see a high number. Now I don't want to get on a scale and see a high number. So now I literally am to the point, or have graduated to the point, or been delivered to the place where I'm actually just going by what it looks like and what it feels like. I don't need to see high numbers on the scale. You know, I don't want to see high numbers on the scale, because then I start to focus on that number, and that's not what really matters. Beyond the point, you know, 300, no, that's not going to creep up on me though. It won't. That's not going to ever happen. 290, that's not going to happen. 280, I'm not going to be 280 again. I typically walk around 280 since I've been up here in PA, since I've been on YouTube, you know, and in every so many years, my weight gradually came down. I was in the 270s for a long time, which I feel good at in the 270s, low 270s. So now, you know, most recently, I've been all the way down to 250, 260. I think I got up almost to 270. I did get to 270 again, you know, 2 years ago or whatever, a year and a half ago, momentarily. But now, for this coming summer, because I'm 60, this is kind of my last real hurrah. You know what I mean? So I want to be leaner than I've been in a long, long time, but I still want to have some appreciable muscle mass. So that's where I'm heading. And it's a slow, progressive thing. And there are bumps in the road along the way, you know? But it's like I said, it's 2 steps forward, 1 back. But that's okay, because it always leaves me a step ahead, you know, net results. But the weight thing, okay, so, you know, now when people ask me what I weigh, I'm like, I don't know. And I know they think, you know, I don't know. I figure a lot of people probably suppose, oh, he must be pretty light, lighter than he appears because he doesn't want to say. Well, no, that's not true. For me, you know, I don't really care if I'm light. And what's light for me? I'm not going to be 240. It's not like I'm going to step on a scale and be 240, you know. But by the same token, it's not like it's that many pounds difference. It's just I don't want to jump on the scale and see 260. You know, I don't want to jump on the scale and see 265. That would freak me out. That would freak me out. Start worrying and stressing over something that I feel fine, I'm feeling good, all my, you know, vitals are good, you know, there's no point. There's no point. You know, if I get on the scale and I'm actually only 250, or I'm, you know, somewhere around in there, I'm fine with that. And where I end up, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, I don't think that me not watching the weight is going to negatively impact me, because it's not like it's going to sneak up on me and I'm going to actually be really in a dangerous area. But at the same time, I don't want to be, I just don't want it in my head. So people say, well, what do you weigh? I don't know what I weigh right now anymore. I haven't weighed myself for quite a while, months, I think. But the other part that brought it to me was in mind is I just saw, of course, Eric Kanevsky's latest, greatest rendition of his going to, this time it was Arnold Classic, and dragging a scale around with him and a tape measure and asking people, you know, how tall are you and what do you weigh, and then wanting to pull that out and, you know, and, you know, I was just thinking for shits and giggles, I went to the Arnold once and we had a booth once, you know, but the money you spend to do that, shit, you could feed a lot of people. You could buy a lot of blankets if you wanted to, you know what I'm saying? You could buy a lot of coats. So, you know, which serves you better? Spend thousands to go to the Arnold, to have a booth, and then on the upside of that, it's cool to meet so many people, which was awesome. I did it early on in the YouTube thing. I went to the Arnold, had a booth, and it was so cool meeting so many people. That was fucking awesome. But, you know, it's, you get in this conundrum and you ask yourself, is it self-serving to some degree that I want, you know, spend all this money just so that I can Hey, I'm at the Arnold, I got a booth, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that money is better used other places, I believe. It'll go a lot further, there's no question about that, other places. So that's the story on that. But if I were there and Eric or anybody came up to me and said, what are you weighing and how tall are you? The tall thing, I don't mind that, but what are you weighing thing, it's like, I really don't know, and I'm not interested in knowing. You know what I'm saying? I don't know that I would get on a scale or not. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. And if I were going to the Arnold, I would fucking train even harder and really try to make a reasonable presentation for people, so I definitely wouldn't want to know what I'm weighing. So all of that, having said all that, that kind of brings into focus how, I don't know, how small or how small-minded or how underdeveloped from an emotional, psychological standpoint this whole bodybuilding thing is as we understand it or know it today, right? It really does. When it becomes, for most people, and I believe it probably is, a lot of people don't want to weigh themselves because they're going to lie. They're going to say they weigh X and they're going to get on a scale and they weigh less than X. Maybe a lot less, who knows? But, why are there so many people like that drawn to this kind of thing? We could discuss that all day long, the psychology of it, why it brings certain people into the pool, Not everybody, like you see when he makes these videos, a lot of guys they don't have any problem getting measured, jumping on the scale, But for me, it's kind of like, I don't know, and another part of it for me as an individual subjectively seems nonsensical because, it seems like nonsense because, what the fuck does it matter? It's kind of like saying, how big are your arms? Well, I don't really know. I only started measuring my arms because everybody wants to know. You know what I'm saying? I only started measuring them a few years back because everybody was always, hey, how big are your arms? How big are your arms, man? I'll bet they're this, I'll bet they're that. They got to be at least this, you know what I mean? And then it made me start to think, oh, well, how big are they? Whereas in bodybuilding, when you get up on stage, okay, like in pro bodybuilding, there's no weight classes. Well, there's 212 and open, but in the open, you're not divided up by weight or height or any of that. So, it's what it looks like anyway. So it kind of even goes against the grain of what bodybuilding is supposed to be, right? It's all an illusion. It's all fucking smoke and mirrors anyway. Because where do you end? Where do you stop? Well, let's see if you really weigh that. Well, let's see if you're really this tall. Well, let's see if you're really that strong. Well, let's see what you can actually do if you really have any functionality with that physique. Well, let's see. You know what I mean? Where does it end? Where does it stop? Where does it stop, Where baseline, this guy's all fucking smoke and mirrors and he can't do fucking anything. And then this guy is super, super fit and he can actually do a whole bunch of shit that might surprise you, with his physique and his amount of muscularity. So, I mean, where does it leave any of it? Where does it leave you? I don't know. Maybe you don't even see the point I'm trying to make. But, people have to be entertained today. And whatever gets it done, Eric's looking big, by the way. He's always looking pretty big. I've seen him for a long, long time on YouTube, and for the longest time, he kind of it seemed like he was plateaued for a while. And then for the last, several years, he just busted past that plateau, and whenever you see him now, he's always big. He's always pretty big. And then what's big? That's a whole other video. What's big? How much should you weigh if you're actually big? Who fucking knows? That's for other people to decide and worry about. You got other fish to fry. Or That's all kind of messages. God knows what that is. Somebody must be trying to get in touch with me. So maybe I ought to investigate that. But I'm not going to fry anything. I'm actually in the air fryer. And now that I say that, I am hungry for fish. So I guess I will go up and air fry some fish. I got fish to air fry. Other fish. But I got other shit to worry about. You know, much less my arms, right? Are they 22 full inches? Are they 21 and a half? Are they 21 and an eighth? Are they 22 and a 16th? I have no idea. I have no idea. Do I need to know? No. Why? Like I said, I got my tail light in the day, so blues back on the road makes me happy. And I got other stuff out there to work on, bikes to fix and videos to make. And then, of course, there's working out, the elephant in the room. You got to work out, of course. And I just did that. So I'm pretty content. Now it's time to eat again because my day is very regimented. So I ain't got time for sitting around and having a dick measuring contest. All right, that's all I got to say. You guys take care. Have an awesome day.